Hey, nice to have you back with us. In studio with me this time around, Carl van der Berg, who is a financial consultant at Alexander Forbes, and also Sisa Ntshona, who is, no, what am I saying? Sisa. And I'm saying she's the nyama here. Sisa Ntshona, who is head of enterprise development at Absa Bank. Nice to have you guys with us. We're talking small businesses here. This has always been the thing that's going to get this economy going, is the small business sector. Right. And I think a lot of people toy with the idea when they're still working within a corporate environment of having some sort of small business of their own. But there are all sorts of pitfalls. Carl, let's start with you.
Sure.
Is it worthwhile trying to start your own business while you're still working for somebody else?
It's a difficult question to answer with a yes or no or an absolute. I do think that where a lot of people would stumble is that they become so, and I work with individual as well as with corporate financial planning, so where people would stumble would be in not having enough seed capital and always be looking to the banking sector, as we'll hear from Sisa now, as providing a seed startup. And what would happen then with time is that as they're working, they're not able to really make a proper go at it. So although they have these lofty dreams of having their own business and running it, it's not really a viable solution. Because I don't think enough people with good ideas and with good potential businesses really enable themselves at a personal level to take that leap into something that's going to be really successful.
Okay, but then how do you make that link then, Sisa, between you've got somebody like me who comes to you who is passionate about this idea. Yeah. This is going to work. It's got to work. Yeah. All of my friends say I'm mad not to go into it. Yeah. How do you assess that and go, there is a chance of this working here?
Sure. I think the reality of it is that every person who comes through our branches and applies for a loan, they're absolutely passionate about their business. All of them think that their business is going to succeed. However, the reality is that 80% of all of those businesses that start up will fail within the first 18 months of operation.
Okay, that's
scary. I mean, that's 8 out of every 10, right? So what we typically do is, let's say you want to start something in the construction sector. Okay. We've got a countrywide view of how that sector is performing, whilst that entrepreneur or passionate SME only sees what they see from their perspective. So what we do sort of like a sanitizing effect. So we look at what you project, we look at kind of what we see, and most of the time, I mean, out of all my years in banking, I've yet to see a business plan that fails. I mean, everyone's got projections that kind of skyrocket up, basically. So we kind of really sanitize those and say, what is the real number over there? Then once we do that, we need to find comfort that there is sustainability around the business. You do have the right expertise and the knowledge in order to run that business by itself.
There's a lot of interpersonal stuff happening here. You must have to cut through it all, though, and just be absolutely brutal and ruthless at some stage.
Right.
How do you do that?
See, you can look at something in a very quantitative way, and I think that's what Sisa would do. They would look at the numbers, they'd look at projections, but let's be honest, when somebody has a passionate idea, they're always going to project their own success. And so in light of that, I think to be brutally honest with oneself and to cut away all these peripheral factors and to look, is this something that I can really make work? Do I have enough support? Do I have the right partnerships? Am I strategically aligned with the right people? Do I have access to the right type of credit? Or do I have enough, and this is really my point, do I have enough saved up as my own seed capital without needing to be paying back a loan in my first 6 months? Do I really have that opportunity to make this thing a success? And I think that's really the hard and fast of it, where people need to try and understand that is the critical factor, rather than a wonderful business plan where projections are always going to go.
This word business plan has come up again and again and again already in this conversation. How important is that?
Well, look, I think sometimes many people don't understand what a business plan is, right? We see a lot of the time as well, a business plan is a means to a loan from the bank, so I just need to do it for them. what it is, it's a plan, right? You're trying to convince someone to invest and put money in a business. They've never met you before, so the least you could do, just to give them an idea, here's my market, here's what I can produce, here's how I'm going to deliver it, and here's how much money I'm going to make from it. It really is, it's a tool that you use to instill confidence into someone that says you know what it is that you want to do. Just to tag on what was said previously on, is that money alone does not solve the problem. I alluded to the fact that 80% of businesses fail within the first 18 months. If you look at the reasons why businesses fail, it's not because of technical inability. And by that I mean, it's not because the guy is a bad plumber. He's a great plumber, just a lousy business person, right?
Yeah.
Cannot manage finances, cannot manage labor relations, cannot manage quality, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because as a business person, you are everything. And sometimes we see a lot of people struggling to move from the comfort of a corporate to becoming standalone. Because suddenly now you got to watch that bottom line. You know, that cash flow is everything. You know, in a corporate, you got a comfort of what I call a cost center, basically, and things kind of move by themselves. So it's really instilling the discipline to make sure that, you know, what you have planned can be translated into reality.
Yeah, no, look, I can understand that because I worked in mainstream media for 25 years. And when I decided to move out of mainstream media, and I have various other business interests outside of that, I realized that I'm very good at coming up with an idea and throwing balls in the air. But I need people around me who can catch those balls, because I'm not good at catching the balls. I go, whoopee-doo, here's an idea. But I need the right people around me to go, okay, thanks for that one. Right, we'll handle that. This is how we handle that. That's how we handle that.
Absolutely.
And you do need that safety net of partnerships around you. This may be a very difficult question to answer, but what do you think is the single biggest failure that people going into their own business face?
If it's such a difficult question, you don't want to ask it to Sisa.
I thought rather flick it to him, so I've got a bit of time to think.
I'll give you my inputs. I think that we're already halfway there. I think that there's not enough separation between the person and the small business. And I had some time just chatting to Sisa a little bit earlier, and what we were saying was that there is no separation. What is the business's money is my own money. It becomes the same account. It gets viewed as this is what's paying my bills at the end of every month. And there is no separation from the start. And even if there is, over time, I think that those two do merge. And I do think there needs to be that separation. This is what's happening in my personal affairs with my own finances. This is my retirement plan. This is what happens for my family and the events of my death. Now, this is my business plan. Let's look at how those differ. Let's look at how the cash flows need to be in the business, taking into account things that are really crucial. How is the business going to make money? When is the business going to start to take money? And another big failure, I would imagine, and I think it happens all the time, is where people going into business start to draw out an income for themselves a little bit too early and look to the business to support
that side.
This side. Rather than allowing space for this to exist as a separate, ongoing concern that can survive not just a good time, but a bad economic time and a tough business environment, rather than looking to merge those too soon.
Sure.
Very wise words.
I don't know if I can beat that. I think that the other reality is that a business plan is just that. It's a plan. It's projections, right? However, now the reality may be fundamentally different. And I'm sure whilst you're working, Jeremy, you could pick up the phone and speak to many people. It's amazing. The moment you leave your job, no one answers your phone anymore. You know, no one answers your SMSs anymore, basically. So, and these are the guys probably you are hanging on to kind of execute the deal or whatever it is. The other point that is important is that you absolutely have to prepare yourself, right? So therefore, when you're working for a company, you earn a salary every month, and maybe if you don't work for a bank these days, you can earn a bonus, you know, and something like that, basically.
It's not going to bonuses and banks, so.
You know, and you know, it can plan much better. However, when you decide to leave your job and to run a business, you really have to kind of restructure your lifestyle, right? You look at your expenses. You've got to be really ruthless with your costs, because day one to when you can probably draw the first salary can end between 9 months to a year, basically, depending on what you want to do. So it's crucially important that you plan. Manage your costs effectively. There's always a temptation when you see the till going up and say, maybe let me draw something out, but you've got to be ruthless with yourself. Discipline is ultimately key. And also as well is what brought you success 20 years ago does not necessarily guarantee success going forward. The market is changing all the time. So whatever it is, a service or product that you have, is it flexible? Is it adaptable? I mean, we've seen some huge big company failures. Kodak as an example, thought that digital cameras were not going to take off, and they stuck to their old-fashioned style. They were the #1 photography company. Now they bust, basically. Nokia used to be #1 as well in their cell phones, but they just got stuck in analog and kind of never moved on. So you ask yourself, is my service going to be relevant in 5 years' time? And what I need to do to shape it, basically, make sure it happens that way. The other last bit I want to talk about is, generally in South Africa, we don't have a culture of entrepreneurship, right? And by that I mean is we have sort of all been drummed into a formula. You go to school, you go to university, do well, get a job, and you work up the corporate ladder until you retire. Now, if I were to tell you that I meet you next week and say, listen, I've resigned, I'm now starting a company, you ask, ooh, what went wrong? Instead of saying, well, congratulations, I mean, good luck with your venture. Unlike we know in America, in the States, you enter in a lift in any office block, you hear people all the time speaking about, listen, I've got 6 months to go, I'm going to start an own business, etc., etc. In fact, up to 50% of the people that work in the States would have started a business at some point in time. And we need to start engendering that culture that comes of it. And the support comes from various sources, right? Family members are the most important one. The last thing you want is for you to have a passion, you want to start your business, but your partner, your husband, your wife doesn't support it. Well, it's not going to go very far, is it?